competition time again, and here is a chance to win a brand new PS5. All you got to do is subscribe to On Track GP on YouTube.
Also follow us on Instagram at OnTrackGP. Make sure you like the competition post, it's pinned on Instagram as well.
You can win yourself this right now. What are you waiting for?
Can I enter? Or can I have a go?
No.
You know, why are you allowing Max to go past me at, this? You can't. You have effectively made yourself second driver, whether or not it's in the contract or not.
Yeah, I mean, he always said he wouldn't go back to Mexico until he won a championship.
Yeah,
so.
I guess he's not going back.
Yeah.
Not this year.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to On Track GP ahead of the Austrian Grand Prix. It's a homecoming.
The Red Bull Arena. Yay.
Yay. What more could we want? Joining me is Matisse and Joe. I haven't seen you guys for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Where have you been? Actually, where have I been?
Yeah.
Where have we both been?
Literally, Joe's been here holding down the fort, so thank you. Thank you very much. I think we missed a few things in Canada, which I guess we will catch up on. But it's the Austrian Grand Prix week. Red Bull Ring, Spielberg, Austria is a home race for the Red Bulls and for Max Verstappen. Surely it's just another win, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, that's cool. That's the end of the preview. Thanks for watching very much. Max will win it. See you soon.
Yeah, it's literally the most rubber stamped win you could possibly have. Red Bull are extra motivated because it's their track.
Yeah.
Max is winning almost every race at this point.
He's a robot.
He's a robot. He's a freak of nature, and it's getting to the point as to where we just, what circuit does he wrap up the title? That's the conversation now.
It is the conversation. I mean, we're approaching race 10, so we've still got a way to go. But yeah, I mean, last weekend, 100th Grand Prix win for Red Bull.
Matching Senna.
Matching Senna,
Ridiculous.
41st win in F1. And also, if you think about it...
41 for Max.
Yeah.
41 for Senna, 100 for Red Bull.
Yeah.
So he could go ahead of Senna this weekend, which is insane.
Which he could do.
Yeah.
He's a child.
But also, I think you have to put credit on the fact that it's 100 wins for Red Bull. They actually haven't even been in F1 considerably that long.
Yeah, in comparison to others.
So it is pretty ridiculous, that achievement, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I would say, you just said, Max is home and dry. It did look a closer race in Canada.
I don't know if he had his foot down the whole way. I don't know if he was really pushing.
I don't think he was really.
The one thing that could mix it up, I feel like we say it every week, because it feels like the weather is following round the tracks. It's due to rain pretty much for the whole weekend, which could mix things up. But Max isn't a bad driver in the wet at all, so it's hard to see any other scenario in that car with his confidence at the minute and his ability. Any other option than him winning, really.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we do have an exciting weekend because it's another sprint weekend.
So it's not just me that doesn't like the sprints.
No, I don't like sprint weekends.
Oh, brilliant. I'm glad.
Does any of you like sprint weekends? Let us know in the comments if you do or you don't like sprint weekends.
I just like the traditional methods.
I agree.
And I just don't like the race, the real race, being retracted a little bit and kind of being watered down by a sprint, and that's just how it is for me. And
I agree. I can't get my head round why I don't like it, because it's extra. I love racing.
Yeah.
But I don't like that.
I don't like it because I know the drivers don't like it.
Yeah, correct.
And I want
It's
the drivers.
It's just
similar with
It's just an unnecessary extra thing to do.
It's similar with all sports. Like they say, fans make the sport, and fans do make the sport, but also the players and the drivers and the sportsmen make the sport.
Max has been so outspoken about how much he hates it.
Yeah, the quality of the sport makes the sport. If the quality of the sport drops off, then the fans will soon drop off as well. And I know it looks like the drivers, a lot of them don't like it. They would prefer the traditional kind of format, more practice as well. I think you always lose a couple practice sessions, it seems, when this sprint race kind of comes about. And there's no way I'm going to be advocating for less practice for drivers going at that speed on these circuits, when it's a couple of tenths split on it's just, for me, it's just insane.
I think qualifying can be exciting enough on its own.
I enjoy qualifying. I think it's quite exciting.
Qualifying is more exciting than the actual
Qualifying
race.
is really
Monaco
exciting.
Is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Saturday at Monaco is unbelievable.
Yeah, I think it is. So
I don't know. I think it's a little bit of drive to survive energy coming into the sport and wanting to make it more exciting. But actually, it's exciting enough as it is.
Absolutely.
It's a proven system, and it's worked for so many years. I don't think they need to change it.
Okay, well, we have a busy weekend. We've got qualifying on Friday, sprint, shootout and race on Saturday, and main race is on Sunday. Just a little stat for you, the lap record at the Spielberg in Austria, Red Bull Arena, is 105, set by Carlos Sainz. But he worked with Ferrari.
What a race win for Sainz!
Race win, it'll be his only one. Right, let's have a look, shall we? Let's just take a little backtrack to Canada. Obviously, we mentioned last time out Red Bull picking up the 100th win. Despite the win, it was a little bit closer with Mercedes and Aston. They were on the tails of the Red Bulls, a lot more than we've seen in previous weeks. Ferrari did have a better performance after an absolutely terrible qualifying. But despite that it wasn't their best performance, Red Bull, 6th win out of 8 races for Verstappen. Still no one has managed to really come that close to him. But what I would say, Sergio Perez. Now, we were talking about him a couple of weeks ago, it seems like a lifetime ago, that he could be the one to kind of challenge Max. Are we going to see like a head-to-head within the Red Bulls? But that's just not happening, is it?
No, that whole conversation is done, closed.
It's embarrassing that we had it.
Throw the book away. It is embarrassing that we had it. I probably may have started it just purely because I wanted to see some entertainment. Yeah. And I was hoping that Perez would dig into his Nico Rosberg bag. Yeah. He didn't. He decided that he was going to be actually overtaken when he started first in Miami, wasn't it? And Max was all the way down the grid. And as soon as that happened, that was when I knew. That was it. That was the moment of realization that I knew.
Was that a sliding doors moment for Perez? Because is that when you think he also lost his confidence?
Well, I think when you're just across the garage from this generational driver, and you've helped him out in Abu Dhabi, and there's moments where you could say that you've been a brilliant teammate and he's been a great driver for Red Bull. But there's always been this, how comes, it's not an even playing field? Why am I not getting, the balance? Why is it not fair? Why is Max getting that slight favoritism? And you have to prove that it shouldn't be like that. The circumstances shouldn't be like that. And the only way you can prove that is by actually matching him for pace and matching him for wins when the opportunity arises. He hasn't done that, so it just makes his standing in the Red Bull garage very weak, and it just means that he can't shout across the radio on team orders. Why are you allowing Max to go past me at this? You can't. You have effectively made yourself second driver. Whether or not it's in the contract or not.
Yeah, I mean, he always said he wouldn't go back to Mexico until he won a championship.
Yeah, so I guess he's not going back.
Yeah.
Not this year.
Yeah, not this year. Unfortunately for Checo, though, that has kind of closed the gap between him and Alonso. Alonso finishing P2 last week. We saw a very intriguing battle between him and the Mercedes, which we'll come on to. But a very strong showing for the team last week in Montreal. The only thing that's letting them down, Stroll.
Yeah, I think also Alonso can and will catch Perez, and that could be the end of... If Alonso finishes with more points than Sergio Perez this year, Red Bull have to get rid of him. Right? Surely?
It's a debate.
I agree.
The Red Bull car is. Yep. The Aston Martin car is good, but it's not a rocket ship like the Red Bull.
No, I agree with you.
If he gets beaten, Sergio Perez gets beaten by Fernando Alonso in a worse car, they have to go and find a second driver, because eventually it will affect their Constructors' Championship down the line.
Well, they have Danny Ricciardo sitting there in reserve. Red Bull have in the past done some, quite harsh things and moves. Is there anything that could say that if Perez keeps going the way he's going, could Danny Ricciardo jump in the car?
Mid-season?
Yeah.
I predicted this in our first ever show. I was like,
run those tapes back.
I was like, have a feeling that like the pressure of it will all get to Checo, and they could, and people want to see Danny Rick back in a car. And if Checo's not performing anywhere near at the standard that Max is, could Danny Ricciardo go and do a job for the last, 10 races, 6 races?
Big call though.
It'd be a massive call. They'd have to buy him out the contract and everything. So, but would it be worth it financially for Red Bull with the extra media attention things they get? I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of it. But
that would be so good for Drive to Survive.
Awesome.
Cinematic.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
it would just be fascinating to see how that unfolds, and if Sergio doesn't pick up his performances in the way that he needs to.
Yeah. No, Danny Rick is a strange one for me, because he has dropped off massively in terms of his pedigree in the sport, in terms of, for me, ability-wise. I think motivation, there was clear, lack of motivation maybe, or he needed a bit of time out to reflect and maybe fall in love with the sport again. So I don't know whether or not he's an absolute guaranteed upgrade on Perez. I don't want to disrespect Perez because Perez is a good driver, but I don't know if he's a clear upgrade immediately. But if the hunger's back and we're seeing the old Rick, which was winning in Monaco and making history, then maybe it will have to be done.
I reckon he's got that hunger.
Who would you rather have in the second seat?
Oh, Checo.
Really?
Still Checo, yeah.
Still Checo.
Still Checo.
Yeah.
But I love Danny Ricciardo. Who doesn't love Danny Ricciardo?
Might ask you that in 6 races.
Yeah, I'll do that when he brings it into the wall on Sunday. But just quickly back to Aston Martin. I mean, Lawrence Stroll, not Lance, Lawrence, says he should be knighted for what he's done with Aston Martin, namely saving thousands of jobs involved with the company and investing heavily into its project. Obviously, Lance has come into question in recent weeks after his poor showing in Canada. I think that is the biggest thing that we can kind of take away this season from looking at Aston. Obviously, you bring in someone like Fernando Alonso, incredibly experienced, amazing driver, so much skill there and pedigree. And then you look at Lance Stroll, who everyone kind of has this tag on him that he's there because his daddy owns the company, which is true. There is a driver in there, but what will Aston Martin need to do moving forward, maybe not this season, but into next, if they want to start properly challenging a Red Bull or really asserting themselves as that second team?
I think everybody knows the answer to this question.
Yeah.
Will Daddy sack his son?
Well, he probably won't, but that's the kind of ruthless decision he'd have to make if he wants Aston Martin to challenge against Red Bull. Now, for me personally, I've said it, I feel like Stroll, and I've been accused of bullying Stroll on this channel. Oh, you keep going at Stroll! This guy is helpless, defenceless. Listen, he's a multi-millionaire with I don't know how much money. Billionaire, sorry. And his dad is a billionaire, right? He's doing all right. And he's a good driver. He's not a Mazepin. He's not a Latifi.
Yeah, correct.
He's not a bad driver.
Big up Latifi.
He's not a Schumacher. But he's also not an Alonso. Yeah. And he's not a Hamilton. And he's not a Verstappen. And if you're going to play with the big dogs, and you have a big buck, and he's got a little meow. Yeah.
He's not good enough at the minute, is he? I mean,
sorry to Lawrence.
Is Stroll's dad here? Is he here? Is Stroll's dad here? Why is everybody so afraid?
Yeah.
Just in case he walks in and wants to give me 20 quid. I'll be like, thanks, Daddy, appreciate it.
The last time someone really went on Stroll was Robbie, and he's not here.
No, he's not here to tell the tale. He's not here.
If they want to win, they have to sack him. There you go. There's the answer.
There we go. You said it.
Yeah.
Lawrence, Joe said it.
Look, you don't have to sack him. You can make him reserve driver. I know that's a bit embarrassing, but he's still within the team.
Would you rather be sacked by your dad or demoted by your dad?
Demoted. Still get paid.
Sacked. I'd rather not be sitting there on the side like, Dad, is it my turn?
Yeah.
Daddy,
I'd rather be sacked.
go in the car?
100%. Be sacked. Right, moving on to Mercedes. It was a P3 for Lewis. He's currently, I think, 4th, isn't he, in the
Yeah, that's my boy. That's my boy.
They've had their upgrades. Are you happy with the upgrades?
I'm happy with the upgrades so far. I think obviously Russell, DNFing wasn't great.
That wasn't the best.
That wasn't the best, but at least it wasn't down to pace. So yeah, for Hamilton, brilliant. Good to see him, competing again and being up there. And I think, listen, he's not gonna come anywhere close to Max this season. I would love a race win, but again, that would be circumstances out of probably Mercedes' control. It would have to be a crash or something would have to happen, an outlier for them to win. I've already accepted that, but just good to see a quick car again. No porpoising, no silly shenanigans, and hopefully building for next season or maybe the season after. I still believe that it's going to take maybe a couple of years to really strong challenge against Red Bull. I think the gap between the rest and Red Bull, considering Red Bull are also improving every year, is massive. And I'm not even going to start to think that next year is the year where you can really, if you want a serious title fight, I think it's a couple of years away.
Yeah, I think that's probably quite accurate. But as we did mention, the W14 package, it looks to have boosted definitely Mercedes in the last few weeks. Good results at Barcelona and in Canada. This was a nice quote. Wolff also revealed in a recent Sky documentary about a concept that he uses at Mercedes, which he's borrowed from the All Blacks of New Zealand, which is a no dickheads policy within the team. So that's
on the staff,
on the staff. So that's quite a nice way to think. It was a really intriguing battle, as we mentioned earlier, between Hamilton and Alonso. If you had to back either one of those to finish higher than each other, who'd you back, Joe?
Alonso this season, yeah. I think.
Is that based on the car or the driver?
I think it's based on how many points he's already got. They've had such a stronger start. I think Mercedes will get some great results. And I think they actually could sweep up and nick a little race win.
I think also what plays a part in this is Russell being a lot closer to Hamilton than Stroll being closer to Alonso in terms of
Yeah.
like Hamilton. George could easily get in his way because he's quick and he's good. He's a good driver, and that's not an easy situation to kind of team orders. They're not going to ask they're not going to ask George to move aside for Hamilton. Whereas for Alonso, his teammates nowhere near him. He is literally always competing to overtake, to go past, to be the fastest. There's no team orders. There's nobody in his way.
It's so nice to see them fighting again, Lewis and Alonso.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Good.
It's
It's like
iconic.
rolling back the years. I love it.
Yeah, it was
I'd
nice.
be really happy with, as long as they're both somewhere at the right end
Yeah,
of
yeah.
a good, strong second half of the season. I want to see them fighting. I think Alonso will just pip him on points. But
Something that I found really interesting when I was listening to a podcast, and I heard Lewis give an interview after that, he said he knew he couldn't fight Alonso in terms of the pace, so he just let him go and he just wanted to maintain the car.
Yeah.
From a Hamilton perspective, for me, it just didn't sound like the Hamilton that was starving and hungry to make sure he got P2 at all costs type of thing. Have you seen any type of change in him? Because just from hearing that, it just made me think, is there a little change there?
Not quite. I think PTSD is just, it is a strong thing, and I think Hamilton's. I think he's almost probably right to do that. I think for the team, they needed the points. George was out of it. P2 would have been great, but I think for where Mercedes have been this season, I think bringing the points home, bringing the car home, not taking massive risks was necessary. I think you've got to bide your time in F1. You obviously want to go world to world. You want to go, completely fully out, leave it all out on the track every single race. But there's times where you have to take a calculated it's a calculated risk, and I think he decided that it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth pushing for P2 and potentially, taking it off the grid, and then next thing you know, you're getting no points, and that's maybe a decision that maybe a younger driver would make. But I think Hamilton, with all of experience, he's just not gonna do that.
Okay, Ferrari.
yes.
Well,
Good race.
Great week.
Great.
For once,
Great
we
week.
had a good race
Yeah.
strategy.
Let's go.
Let's go.
The standards are low.
Yeah.
I mean, if this
Yeah.
is
and the strategy was driven by the drivers.
Literally,
their
it was just
decision.
Yeah.
one pit stop,
Yeah.
and respectively they finished fourth and fifth.
Maybe they should be on the pit wall.
It was, it was actually a very good race for
Yeah.
Ferrari. If we're talking about, there's no DNFs, there's good
Yeah.
strategy. This was a pretty flawless race for them.
100%.
Where do we realistically expect Ferrari to finish in at this point?
Fourth.
Fourth?
Yeah, in the constructors,
Wow.
probably. I think
That must have hurt.
Yeah, it's
needless to
awful.
say.
It's painful. Hideous. Makes me want to throw up every time I think about it. But ultimately, I think this season Aston Martin and Mercedes are just a little bit too far ahead. And obviously, Red Bull have gone with it, and they're going to score the big points pretty much every week. And then so you're chopping away at trying to score an 8 or a 10, those sort of numbers, and you just can't climb up the grid and up the order in the same way. So I think, honestly, realistically, I think Ferrari are going to finish.
This has been a regression in this season, isn't it?
Oh,
Massive regression.
Yeah. From second, and for the first half of the season, last season,
Yeah.
we were top. We were killing it.
Yeah.
By the way, what we're coming up to, Austria, is a year since
Your
Ferrari last won a
win.
race.
Yeah, Leclerc last year
Wow.
at the Red Bull.
Yeah.
I wanted just to talk about Sainz, because I feel like Sainz takes a lot of criticism. We all know that I love Carlos Sainz. But he does take a lot of criticism. There was that clear block on Pierre Gasly last time out.
Oh, Messi in qualifying.
I mean, that 3-place grid drop. We've spoken about it before, saying that you potentially don't think he might be up to standard for that second seat. So I guess we're putting him in the second seat. Do they make a call on that at the end of the season?
I don't think they'd buy him out of his contract. I think it's too expensive, and he's not underperforming enough to warrant the tens of millions that would cost. I think he, with the car looking to be a little bit more, hopefully, reliable, assuming it doesn't burst into flames like it did here last year for Carlos. I can see them having a good weekend again, and then hopefully, Carlos won in Silverstone last year. So there's the opportunity to build a bit of momentum with them and get some decent results. Again, I think we'll go seasonless without a win at Ferrari. But if we can just get some consistency, and like kind of how you are at Mercedes, thinking about next year.
Yeah.
If we can just get some decent results, please.
I think for you guys the main thing is strategy. If you can keep that intact and kind of really focus on that, because we all know that's been your biggest problem, especially over the
You know
last
what I
few
like to say?
seasons.
Do the basics
Do
right.
the basics right.
That's my thing in the sport.
Ferrari have to go
Simple.
back to basics and do, the regular things that you're taught from like day one,
Yeah.
and then they'll get going again. Something that was mentioned by team principal Fred Vasseur said he's intrigued by the big names such as Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen joining Ferrari, but he remains confident that the team has a good structure and are working towards better results. So at the minute, we can't expect to see any great movers there.
Yeah, I don't think we'll
Can't
see
imagine seeing Max
any
go.
Ferrari.
No.
I mean, can you imagine? It'd be,
No.
it'd be amazing.
It
But
would
there's
be
gotta
amazing,
There's
but-
got to be some sort of draw there in terms of like all the amazing drivers
Of
have
course.
driven at Ferrari. Like Shima, you can go and you can go and make such a difference at a team like that. But why would he leave Red
I
Bull?
reckon if you asked every single F1 driver which car would you
Wanna win in the
but
most.
which brand of car would you want to win in the most, they'd all say Ferrari.
Yeah.
So if they could just sort out their car,
Yeah.
they'd have a chance
so
of having
bizarre.
that.
If Ferrari were,
They're iconic.
if Ferrari functioned like a normal team,
Yeah.
they would actually get the top drivers. They would. Like everybody would love to win in a Ferrari, especially for how long it's been. You're creating history, legacy, but you can't go into that Ferrari team too far off the pace, because then now as a top driver, you're at your detriment a little bit. It's similar how we've seen Alonso, going into teams that are beneath him, and now he's finally at a team that's looking ambitious and pulling its weight. And look at the performances we're getting from Alonso. You as a driver, you have to obviously, you want to challenge yourself, you want to prove people wrong, but at the same time, you also need the team to be of the level, a certain level, and the car to be of a certain level. You can't work magic, every single weekend. So for me, it's not worth the gamble right now.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not worth the gamble.
Okay, moving on. Alpine. It's been a big week for Alpine because they have two new American investors. They are none other than Wrexham AFC owners Ryan Reynolds and Robert McElhenney. And
Yes.
there's an extra one, Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
Ben Foster going to be in the paddock in a minute, vlogging.
I love this. I absolutely love it.
The next Creed film is going to be filmed on in the paddock.
I absolutely love this. I think this is really cool. I had a little chat with Richard about this on the podcast episode on Monday, and the idea that I imagine he'll come in with the intention to do a series for Disney like he has with Wrexham. Imagine the access, because Drive to Survive get a certain amount of access, but they don't get complete freedom. If he's an investor in the team, he could go anywhere with Alpine.
But only with Alpine.
Yes, exactly. But just, I mean, oh god, it'd be so cool to bring in a lot of new, hopefully the right, fans into the sport and that kind of thing. I think it'd be great. I think there's at the moment, I'm struggling to see any downsides of this.
If you get unlimited access, even with just Alpine, that's going to bring in a lot of viewers, because
Absolutely.
everybody wants to know what's going on, like really going on.
Yeah, because Drive to Survive is Doctor.
Yes,
So
the Netflix series is
great,
kind of
though.
like a gloss over, dramatized, soap opera, EastEnders vibe to it, and it's fun.
Yeah.
I watch it every single year, even though I've been following F1 before
It's fun.
it
You're
came
right.
out.
That's
It's
it.
fun. But if you want the details, the insights, this could be the breakthrough.
There's an opportunity,
and
yeah.
that is a massive market, because there's a lot of people who want to know exactly what's going on and exactly how
behind the
this
scenes.
works.
This is interesting as well. Alpine CEO Laurent Rossi has revealed more details on this investment. It brings the value of Alpine to 700 million, and it helps boost revenue through hospitality, sponsoring, licensing, and merchandising. So the money that this is going to bring in is going to be massive, which means better car.
Yeah,
big time. Yeah. I mean, it takes a while, I guess, for that money to realistically
filter
through. I
through.
don't think we're going to see them quite do an Aston Martin next year, but absolutely over the next
2, 3,
while
4,
could be really interesting. Could we then have 5 top teams?
Ooh.
Half the grid then, in theory, like crazy.
I tell you what, it makes that midfield battle extremely exciting.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
If and when that happens. Plus, we're going to see Audi come into the mix in 26.
Yeah. I just feel sorry for the rest of the grid.
Yeah.
Like Alfa Romeo, Haas.
No, they're gone.
Alfa Romeo are going to be gone. Haas,
Williams,
Haas
like
could be in trouble.
surely it means.
AlphaTauri, I think, could be on the chopping block.
I think so.
There's no hope for these guys.
Speaking of AlphaTauri, Helmut Marko revealed a revelation considering signing Nick de Vries to the team, saying that Red Bull boss Christian Horner was not a fan of the Dutch driver. And he also noted, Marko, that it looks like he was right.
Yeah,
harsh.
Cruel on one of your own. It was always going to be difficult for Nick de Vries at the start because he hadn't driven a lot of the tracks. But I think on the European tracks, there's an opportunity for him to try and make something of himself, but ultimately, if he's still on 0 points in a while, then they're going to look to go elsewhere. The opportunity of Daniel Ricciardo coming in and that kind of thing.
That was literally what I was just about to ask you. So, is there a possibility that, I mean, obviously it's the sister car. So, Danny Ricciardo in an AlphaTauri?
Would he go there? That's my question for you.
It's the sister car. So what's the difference?
He should.
It's like when your town is twinned with like some random place in Germany.
The car's like that half as quick.
Yeah. But if you want to drive, just get driving again.
Yeah.
You know, it's only going to be for the rest of the season, isn't it?
I think if you look at trajectory, Lando is deserving of a top seat.
Absolutely.
Hopefully. You know, we've already got Russell up there. We've got a lot of young drivers up there. Albon's really doing very well. Hopefully he can continue.
Love Albon.
Danny Rick's trajectory and where he's put himself, which is now a reserve driver, his next step is an AlphaTauri, whether he likes it or not, in my opinion. Now, if he got a seat at Red Bull, that would be extremely fortunate. And that would be down to the performance of Perez, not because Daniel Ricciardo deserves to drive a Red Bull, because Perez is underperforming, and this is the cheap alternative to kind of maybe try and get Danny Rick back on track, and next thing you know, you may have found, gold. But if we're talking about where he's been at last time he was in a Formula 1 car, AlphaTauri is the kind of team that he would be going to. So for me personally, I just want to see him back on the grid, and I think if that's an AlphaTauri, I think he should take the opportunity. Tsunoda's been performing, so it shows that if you do have speed and you do have the quality and the pace, you can perform, you can get some points, you can finish in the top 10, and I think that's something that Ricciardo should be looking to go into that team and push Tsunoda off his perch. And
I was thinking about Tsunoda, man. Like, we've all been like, oh, he's having such an unbelievable season. He's actually only got 1 point.
I know, but we know the context.
I know the context of it. And
the fact that he's not smashing the car every week, he's not swearing every week on the radio.
We've been like, I was looking back and I was like, yeah, okay, AlphaTauri 1 point. I was like, 1 point?
Yeah.
Is that all he's got?
But
so
that's kind of
so many 11ths and close, but
so many 11ths.
It's only 1 point.
Yeah, it is only 1 point.
In honesty, I guess that's kind of their level.
It is. It is exactly. That is their level.
Totally.
Yeah.
It is the level of the car. Yuki Tsunoda was confirmed to be joining Danny Ricciardo and Sebastian Vettel at the Red Bull Formula Nürburgring event on September the 9th. Unlike the other two drivers who will be driving in F1 cars, Tsunoda will drive an AlphaTauri branded Honda. And he has actually spoken about his F1 future, saying he would like to get to a point in his career where he is in control of the decisions on moving teams. So is that potentially hinting at a potential exit from the Red Bull umbrella? Obviously driving a Honda, Aston Martin, they're going to be powered by Honda in 26. Is he good enough to go to Aston? Probably not.
For Stroll?
For Stroll,
Is he better? Well, that's a good debate. Is he better than Lance Stroll?
Machine for machine, I would personally rather have Yuki Tsunoda in my car than Lance Stroll.
Would you?
Yeah, I would.
Would you?
Yeah. This season, definitely.
Yeah.
I know I've just been saying he's only got 1 point, but it's in the car that he's in compared to the Aston.
I probably would agree.
Tsunoda in an Aston could be wild.
I think
it would be insane.
Maybe a car that suits him under heavy braking and that kind of thing.
Fair.
I think it would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, let us know what you guys think in the comments. Haas, it was a remarkable qualifying for Nico Hülkenberg. He finished second, dropped to 5th with that penalty, but unfortunately both cars finished outside of the points. Gunther Steiner, my favourite, has confirmed that the team, they're looking into a noticeable drop-off of pace during races, but he does remain happy with both the drivers. What can we expect from Haas, really?
Nothing this weekend. Sorry. It's a bit morbid, isn't it?
Oh, damn.
I don't think either of them will have anything hugely to write home, but I think there's too many quick cars on a short overtaking circuit like this, where they're doing 71 laps and doing laps, by the end they'll be doing laps at like 107, 108. Like, I can't see a way that the Haas, even if they got qualified really well, would be able to hold on for points. I don't think
they've shown glimpses at times, like good qualifying sessions.
They just can't sustain it. They just can't.
The car's not quick enough. I don't think there's a huge amount they can do.
I think they've got a good driver lineup, so I would agree with that. I think the car is just not where it needs to be.
I can't remember which race it was, but I think it was it Hülkenberg that was sitting in like 9th? I think it was like 5th actually in one race or something like that, and then they had to pit. He got
put down from P2, didn't he?
Well, that was but there was another race where he was going so well, and then he was like he had to pit, and then he just fell all the way down.
Yeah, I can't remember. But they've had, particularly Hülkenberg has had his moments.
He has
season.
definitely. Yeah.
I don't think this will be a track again, unless the rain mixes it up completely,
But it
but
suits
I don't see this as a track where they'll have a huge amount of success.
Okay, McLaren, they are undergoing a major an overhaul of upgrades in the next few races. The first of the new upgrades is coming this week in Austria. Lando is excited for the upgrades. He's saying there's been a lot of work done by the team behind the scenes. I feel sorry for Lando. He definitely deserves a move.
Yeah, no, he
He's
does.
too good. He's too good for the state of McLaren.
He's too good for this team right now. The only issue is that his contract is so long and so high. It's such a big contract that he's not going to get bought out really right now. So
it's unlikely, isn't it?
It's very unlikely. So yeah, I mean, listen, if you commit to a team for that period of time on that amount of money, then this is kind of you're in it until the end. So unfortunately, I don't see him going anywhere for a few years, and hopefully McLaren do come back to the level they should be at, because it's funny when we talk about these top teams, we talk about the top 10. We didn't speak about McLaren in that.
No.
If so.
What a change, I guess, a year makes. We were saying they were probably near enough the top of that midfield pack last year. They obviously took Piastri off of
highly sought after.
Off of thingy. And Aston weren't resurgent, and now we're looking at them as kind of bottom of that mid-table, best of the rest. So it's a very big turn up.
Yeah, I think actually I do think Norris could have a good weekend. I think he could finish in the top 8. But
Piastri as well?
No, not Piastri. I don't think this week. I think this is a good circuit.
He's not been too bad in terms of.
No, he's been decent.
Terrible, but he's not. I don't think he's anywhere near Norris's level.
No, absolutely
not yet.
So I think Norris could do something this weekend, but yeah, ultimately he needs to be thinking about his future and where he wants to go and race, because he's not going to win anything in a
McLaren. Absolutely. Finally, Williams. Alex Albon. Best save the best till last this week.
I mean, should we quickly do Logan Sargent?
Go on. The floor is yours.
That's done.
Oh yeah.
Let's do Alex Albon. Unbelievable. Like, he's been put through the ringer in his career. Like he was thrown to the wolves when he was at Red Bull, completely thrown to the wolves, and he's dropped down, gone to a Williams, and he's really properly delivered. 6 points he scored two weeks ago.
It doesn't make sense.
6 points. And it was all because of, just unbelievable tyre management.
Yeah.
And he managed to keep the guys behind him.
Defended so well.
Oh, it was incredible.
I remember we was watching that DRS train just going round. And said, is Albon going to keep it? Is he going to keep it? And I was like, you know what? I think he's going to hold this.
Beautiful.
It was looking like as if it was going to be a long day, because he had 3 or 4 cars behind him, but he held on.
Finishing P7.
It's just ridiculous.
Come on.
It's ridiculous.
Driver of the day
in a
as well.
Williams as well. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Correct. That's what I love about the sport.
And it was
occasionally
so
you get a
earned,
little. So I love it, and I think he could have another good weekend.
Well, what was noticeable is they had given the car some upgrades, but only to Albon's car. So there was no upgrades for Sargent. They basically put all their eggs in one basket.
They should.
In Canada.
They should.
Which they should, of course. And I guess that high risk, high reward in that kind of term for Williams. But then, what do we expect? Do we still expect that was a one-off, or do we expect to see them, try and get within those points again, even if it's a P10?
I think for me, whenever I speak about Williams, P10 is always as high as I go, and that's with a couple crashes or a couple issues and a couple moments. Because if we're talking about pace of the car and we're talking about everybody finishing where they should, Williams should never really be going and getting 10th. But with Albon, you have a chance, and if these upgrades continue
and he qualifies well.
Yeah, exactly.
Well. He does qualify well.
Because he does qualify well, he puts himself in a position where it's at least a conversation. And I think they were absolutely spot on to go upgrades only for him, because listen, there's no time to lie here. It's not a competition as to who the better driver is out of those two.
I always feel sorry for De Vries and Sargent, but then I remember that they're millionaires, so I'm not that worried about it. But I don't know. I just feel because he's not as good, and at a smaller team they have to go.
If they've got the budget, you give it to the better driver. Yeah,
exactly. If he's got the possibility to go and score points, we have to follow the statistics.
Yeah.
And Sargent just isn't making any waves. I mean, in qualifying sometimes he's 3 seconds off the guys at the top. I mean, it's crazy. Obviously the car's slower, but But you've got to make something happen, and Albon is making that happen. So good on Albon, man.
Let's see what he can deliver for us in Austria. We have a very jam-packed weekend. We will be here on the sofa. Matisse is going to take you through your sprints. I'll be here Sunday for your race. Joe, you joining me?
I'll be here for Sunday. Wait, predictions. What are you saying for this weekend? Top 3?
Oh, top 3. Now, I've just got this feeling.
Here we go.
I've just got this feeling that it's not going to be as home and dry as you think it is.
For Maxi Boy? Whoa!
I hope
involved.
I'm wrong. Obviously, as a Max lover and a Red Bull enthusiast, but I'm still going to back him as P1. Obviously. I just think that I've got a feeling there's just going to be a lot of things going on this weekend. It's like a gut feeling.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm going to go Max P1.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Hamilton P2.
Okay.
And Lance Stroll P3. I'm joking.
Oh my God.
I'm joking. I'm going to put Charles Leclerc P3.
Wow.
Mix it up.
Ahead of Aston Martin.
I'm just mixing it up this weekend.
Yeah, no, please do.
Mixing it up.
I'm going to go Max, followed by... Yeah, I'm going to go Hamilton. And then, for me, Alonso.
Yeah, you think Alonso could do a job. It's hard to keep the Aston Martins out of the top 3, I agree. But I think the Mercedes has the benefit in the quicker corners and the straights. So
I was tempted to go George third, but...
I think Hamilton's too good for George at the minute in terms of confidence as well. I completely agree with your top 3, and so does Production Coylan. The 3 of us have the exact same top 3.
Which means we're all going to be wrong. But
Max, Hammy, Charles.
So Alonso is not in any of your top 3?
No, I'm sitting him out this weekend.
Wow.
I don't know why. I also think there's something going to go terribly wrong with Max. But
and
hopefully not.
Checo, not there.
No, I'm not putting Checo anywhere near it. I think I'm going to go P5 for Checo.
Oh!
Yeah, which is
I would
good.
have George P4, Checo P5 as well, yeah.
Wow.
I would have had the same as well. Yeah. So we have a busy weekend coming up in Austria. Of course, next week we'll look ahead to Silverstone. It's going to be a huge mammoth week as we have it here on home soil. But before we go, don't forget you can still win this beautiful PS5. All you have to do is like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube and follow us on Instagram. Make sure you subscribe, like the post, enter yourself into the competition, and you could be walking away with a PS5. The competition closes soon. You guys cannot keep re-entering. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. It's one entry. But until then, we will see you on the weekend for Austria.
Competition time again, and here is a chance to win a brand new PS5. All you got to do is subscribe to On Track GP on YouTube.
Also follow us on Instagram at OnTrackGP. Make sure you like the competition post, it's pinned on Instagram as well.
You can win yourself this right now. What are you waiting for?
Can I enter? Or can I have a go?
No.